who has been willing to break this down for us, so we'll do that. First, though, we're going to show how to do the video. We're going to show you actually the video of doing it, and then we're going to go live. We're going to do the introduction of these cooking methods of roasting and grilling by video, and then Bill Moore and Chef Steve, Bill, and Chef Boom are going to help us at the end doing the actual recipes. Okay, I'm sorry, can't deal with. Okay, next slide, please. The video. So if you'll play the video, please. This is in your textbook, and those of you that took the YouTube, this is the actual video for how to break down the top sirloin. We can't hear the sound. We can't hear the sound. Can you start the video again with the sound? Yeah, we're not going to bone in. It's boneless. We're going to fabricate it, but we're waiting. We need this. Yeah, we need the. Is the audio not working? Can I what? Drop through? I'd rather it do the video. I'd rather, you know what, you can take me off live stream if you want, but the video is important. Because they need to see the video because it's going to follow exactly what we're doing here. It's not going to work? Okay. I've got, Bill, we've got 3 videos that they need to be able to hear. There you go. You get your glove on? I think it's fine. We're going to flip it. We're just going to wait. And if they can't ever figure it out, then I will talk through it and we'll do it again. But if they don't do this, then they're not going to show the roasting video. They're not going to show the grilling video, and, you know, all is for naught.
The second muscle is the heart of it, which is the center. And then finally, we've got this kind of strange muscle that is called the mouse because of its shape. So you can find this muscle very easily because it's just precisely on the opposite side of the fat that we don't really need. And from there, I'm going to separate each one of the muscles.
Your name?
So by trimming some of the fat, what you find is
Natasha.
the roadmap for how we're going to reach all of this mouse part muscle.
This is what you look like, Stephen, when you did it in.
A lot of the fat away from the cut. So
I thought you were going to kill me.
Find where this mouse muscle is, following that natural seam and just pulling it apart and getting all of that variation on tenderness out of it.
Speed it up.
So we're separating clearly the picanha, the culotte, the cap, whatever muscle you want to call that, from that center cut top sirloin. And there's just a really natural seam that goes through here that you just find and just peel that cut right off. The fat can also be used to oil your grill. So why bother with spending additional money on vegetable oil or whatever when you can just use the fat from your beef as your grill oil or your pan oil? So what we have here is the center cut top sirloin. And this is decision making time. Do you need a whole roast to cook? Or do you need maybe a smaller roast and another bigger roast? But can you see there is a natural seam that goes right down about 1/3 the way. And we just broke right through that natural seam. And this makes a fantastic chateau
baseball
top
cut.
sirloin. And now we have what we would call a 1/3, 2/3 cut. So do we want to keep that as a roast, or do we want to steak everything?
Nice big one, so.
And look at the shape of that. Immediately, what do you think of?
Tenderloin.
Tenderloin.
Yay,
So
good answer.
few menus will say filet of top sirloin on the menu because it looks like that shape. It is very versatile. It can be thick cut, it can be thin cut. It would make a fantastic surf and turf instead of being much more expensive filet mignon. And now we have another roast. We have 2/3 of that whole top sirloin. So do we want to leave it as it is? You could tie it, or we can make the same steaks and cut it in half and cut them, or we can make bigger steaks. And now I want to show you the real secret to making sure that every single steak eats perfectly. If you notice this little piece right here, that will give you tremendous variation in tenderness. So you need to go ahead and cut that out. It is just that one cut, but if you'll remove it, it'll make such a better eating steak.
Once you finish cutting the steaks, you have to make sure you remove every leftover of connective tissue that will affect the quality and tenderness of your piece. In this case, for example, we can appreciate it here, so we just have to remove that part. This is the picanha, or this is the top sirloin cow, as you wish to call it. Now, look at this. There is this part of meat, and then we have the fat. We just need to follow where the fat goes so that we can easily remove that. Here we can just go right through, and then just remove this part of fat very easily. Now we turn it around, and we will just do the same, just follow the seam goes right here, so we can get rid of all this fat. It shouldn't take us that long, it should be rather easy. And we just remove some of the connective tissue that is left.
We have this nice, clean or picanha. Decision-making time. Are we going to roast it whole, kind of Brazilian style, or are we going to cut it into top sirloin culotte or top sirloin picanha steaks? What would you like to do, Chef?
I think we should get some steaks out of this beautiful, thick.
Next slide. No.
Next slide.
That's it. Okay, so we're going to do this review real quick.
Go back to the review slide.
There we go. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. This cut in review. It is number 10 in tenderness. So where you can find that is right on the front of this. It gives you the ranking of cuts. There are two main muscles. Do you remember what they are? Center cut. And then there was the cap. And what else did we call the cap? Culotte. And what else? What do the Brazilians call it? The picanha. That's right. The center cut can be, what are we doing here? Okay, thanks. We can cut that whole thing as a whole piece like that and do it in a three-way cut. And the culotte can be roasted whole or cut into mini New York strips. So we'll go to the next slide. And this gives you that example, all right? The one on the left, cut right down the middle. The challenge with that, it'll be a little bigger, but the challenge with that is there's going to have a seam. There will be some of the steaks that have that seam right down the middle. The three-way cut removes all that seam, and they break it into those baseball or fillet of top sirloins. And then on the far right, that is if we chose to leave it as a roast. If we use that, that's a 1/3, 2/3 cut. That one on the left, what would it be if it was tenderloin? What would we call that? If it was tenderloin for two, what would we call that? Chateaubriand. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Bill knows his cuts. So what if it is top sirloin? What would we call it? Chateau sirloin instead of Chateaubriand. Makes it sound elegant, fabulous for anybody that's got buffet lines going on. If you're in an all-inclusive resort and you're looking for a nice little steak to have for people as you're slicing steaks, really, really works. Okay. So we are going to turn it over to Natasha, and we're going to show you this. Whoops, there we go. All right. So what's the first thing we're going to do? There's 3 steps to this. First step, we're going to remove the mouse muscle. Natasha, show them where that is. This little group of muscles right there that have a lot of connective tissue, so we got to get them out of there. You ready to go? Here, let me get over here by you. All right, here we go. So we're going to go through there, put your knife under there, and pull out that set of muscles. Steve, whatever you do, don't let them get overdone. This cut is not forbidding giving for well done. No, they'll eat it with it not. Trust me. Great, okay, so we got that out. Now, second step, we're going to remove the culotte from the main muscle. So you want to show them kind of where that, how you find that culotte. Can you guys see? Actually, on the side here, this is that big culotte muscle, and what do we see? The grain is running that way, And the muscle over here, the grain, is running this way. So by separating these two, we reduce the variation in tenderness. So that is what Natasha is going to do. She's going to separate out the culotte from the center cut top sirloin. And you can almost do this by running your hands. There's this natural seam, and it really runs very, very well. Very easy to do. Natasha is wearing a knife-resistant glove underneath the glove that does not have the knife in her hand. So, why? So she didn't cut herself. Now, I will tell you, these knife-resistant gloves work very well if you slice, but they are not resistant if you stab yourself. I promise you it'll go straight on through. Okay, now we have, where's gloves? Oh, there we go. So we've got two pieces here. And Natasha, I need you just to trim through this pretty quick so that we can see our road map. Get that layer of fat off. All right, there you go. That'll give us enough of a roadmap we can get going on it. All right? Natasha, go ahead and let me get in here. Move your knife. Just go ahead and cut that off. That was a miscut from before. We're good. We'll just cut that off. Okay, now can everybody see? When you look up here, do y'all see this natural seam right here? Everybody see that? Natasha, I want you to cut right through that natural seam. There we go, and we're ready to make a baseball steak or a chateau sirloin. All right. Now, what I want everyone to see here is, remember we talked on that video, there's one part that gives you variation in tenderness, and this is this end of it. Can you guys all see where this almost looks like a tongue, doesn't it? This part right here and this part right here. Just for the essence of time, we're going to cut that off right there. Ooh, sorry, Steve. Great. Now, Natasha, if you'll do this, if you'll cut that in half and cut me some baseball steaks. See how easy that is? 1, 2, 3. 3 steps. So why don't we, actually I would go ahead and take this off. This is a little bit of the mouse muscle just didn't come in. You see how so much of this can be seamed with your hands? There you go. Good. I'm going to just, for the essence of time, there we go. And now you are ready. You always cut from the most valuable end. This end versus this end. Who was in my group this morning? What's this? Dingleberry. Y'all know what a dingleberry is? Okay, a dingleberry, you ever seen a little goat or a little dog run and there's something kind of hanging from their bobo? That's a dingleberry. We always cut off the dingleberries. Okay, there we are. Okay, so now, that's what we call them. In Texas, we call this a patooey, but we won't even go there. Okay, go ahead and cut your steaks, and then we'll start on the culotte. You take the most valuable end, and you start always from the most valuable end, the part that's the best. Perfect. Let's go. So look at this. This is a gorgeous, beautiful steak. Looks like a filet mignon, doesn't it? Filet of top sirloin. Okay? All right. And you could do that for all the rest, but we will move from here to the culotte. You need any more steaks? No. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to move all of this over here. Those are our nice steaks. Now, do you remember in the demo or the video, there's a natural seam right after this piece of meat. This part needs to come off. This is, I would go ahead and trim that, and then we're going to cut right through there, okay? Great. And this is all fat and sinew, so we just cut that right off and get rid of it. Okay? Now we have the cap or the picanha. And we're not going to go through a lot of, we're not going to do, boy, we got some dingleberries, don't we? Got little dingleberries. There we go. Okay. Now, because our demo shows this, we're cooking this whole roast. But remember in the video, we could make steaks out of it, couldn't we? And sometimes they're called a mini New York. I'll cut one out just so you can see it. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Now, so this kind of looks like a New York, but look at this. There's quite a bit of fat, isn't it? I always recommend that you trim the fat after when you can really see it. Because if we had trimmed the fat this way, we don't know how deep it is. So we could have over-trimmed. By waiting to trim the fat after, you can see exactly where you want to trim, okay? And then you make a much better steak that way. I won't get into it, but you guys get the point, right? Okay, so we're going to cook this whole culotte. We've now got the culotte steak, or they call it a lot the picanha steak. And thank you, Natasha. Give her a hand, please. Excellent job. Excellent, excellent job. We can do that. Probably not today, though. All right, next slide, please. Bill, what we're going to do is we're going to do the slide that says how to roast, how to grill, the video, and then you're on. Next slide, please. Okay, so go back one. Go back one. Sorry. Okay, let's do this. What we've done is right out of the video, we're going to show you the roasting video right here. Right out of the textbook, this is the roasting video, how to roast. So you see this these videos will help you fall right through, right in. Okay, let's go. Chef Debbie from Trinidad. And this is the culotte that we talked about, that roast, that whole culotte that we did. We need to turn it up. We need to go back. There you go. That's good.
To help maintain that shape, we look at time. So we have a pork loin today that we're looking at, and the first step you want to take is just take the end of the twine, the butcher's twine, and make a tie. You then average the intervals that we are going to tie, and what you do is you bring it down, you bring the butcher twine down to the center, and we basically hold it in the center and bring it around the protein. Take this free piece of twine, hold the center, and pull it through, almost like sewing a little bit. Again, I'm going to take my thumb and just hold the center, take the free piece of the twine, and go around, take it around the loin. Take the empty piece, pull it through, and if you were sewing with a needle, give a little bit of a pull to the center so that we keep it really nice and beautiful. It's not finished there. You need to ensure that you turn it over and do the same thing. Same technique again. Going underneath and pulling it down. Right, now that's nice. Turn it back over to the presentation side, and I'm going to take the two loose pieces of twine and tie it together. The next thing with respect to our meats is that you always want to season with a little bit of light salt and pepper, regardless of whether you're going to do a rub or a marinade. So, a little bit of salt and pepper. Why are we doing this? Because again, we want to layer our flavors. Now, what is roasting? Roasting is a dry cooking method. You have different ways of browning your meat, and once we brown our meat, in this case, pan-seared, we are going to finish it in the oven. So let's start with a little bit of oil. We want to ensure that the pan is nice
Is the roast 135 yet? Good. Because it'll come out and sit for 10 minutes. Take them out. Here you go. So, next slide. Okay, so Bill, would you like to do the roast now or the steaks now? Okay, so we need to go forward one more. And let's do the grilling while we're waiting for the steaks to come in here. Are they here yet? No. The steaks? Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and we'll do the grilling, how to grill. But we're going to just do the very beginning because they're going to tell you how to do it.
We'll talk about grilling. Grilling is a dry heat technique. It's usually confused with barbecue. When we say barbecue, many people think it's grilling. Barbecue is a slow and low process, and sometimes involves a kind of sauce. Grilling is a method. There are three elements we can use in grilling: gas, wood, and charcoal. If we use gas, we have the advantage of measuring temperature and controlling it, but no failure. If we use charcoal, we can reach very high temperatures and some flavor. When using wood, we can use any kind of tree that has not been treated, that grew some kind of a log or a fruit. And now we're looking for some special flavor. And the flavor we're looking for is the wood. Now let's talk about meat. It should not be cold. It should be a
Did we cook them too much?
really cold meat. We use the fat.
Touch them.
You can just look at it and say,
No. No, we overcooked them. Oh, well.
So we'll just add some oil. Once our meats at room temperature, it shouldn't take more than 40 minutes, an hour at roast. Especially if we marinate them overnight for 2 hours. Please remove it from the refrigerator and leave it at room temperature. Now, the question that people always ask is, what is salt and pepper are needed when grilling? Well, the answer is very simple. We have to salt and pepper before we grill, and we salt and pepper after we grill. Why do we do this? Well, the answer is that sometimes the salt and pepper that we go to the oven stays on the grill bars. Hence, we lose something. So we just need to add a little bit again. Don't be afraid of the amount of salt and pepper you use for the grilling. Careful. But what kind of salt can we use? Any kind of salt, as long as you know how salt is. Black salt, pink salt, red salt.
It got a little over. It's medium well, but no, that's medium well. That's okay. At least it's not well. You know what? I promise you they will eat it. I promise you they will eat it. I've never had anyone turn me down, ever. Okay, so we're going to stop here and we're going to go to the next slide, which is the recipe. Because this is an outdoor grill and it doesn't pertain to what we're doing today. But I want to do two quick things that he talked about. Degree of doneness. Okay, so in chef school, we almost always learn this, right? You touch your finger to here. That's rare, medium well, and well done, right? Well, what's the challenge with that? If you are teaching someone how to do a grill, the challenge with that is you have to do this, back and forth. So I had a certified master chef in Atlanta teach me another method that I want you guys and gals to all do. And he said, when I'm training, and that's what we're all about, how do we train someone? This is how I teach them, because it's an ability to touch the meat at the same time with your tongs and your head. Everybody touch your head, your forehead. Bill, forehead. Well done. Touch the end of your nose, medium. And touch right on top of your chin, not your bone, but right there, rare. Well done, medium, rare. The reason that this is helpful is you can have your tongs and be touching at the same time, where with this, you're going back and forth, okay? Second thing, you noticed in the demo from Debbie, do not, absolutely do not rinse meat. Now, I'm the meat lady. I don't care what you rinse with seafood or chicken, but do not rinse red meat. Why? Number one, you're going to put bacteria all over the place. You're going to contaminate your whole sink. Number two, and most important, we want to caramelize, or the Maillard, is that how you say it? Maillard reaction, all right? If we rinse the meat, we have just rinsed off the proteins and sugars that you need for caramelization. You cannot caramelize water. It doesn't happen. You can try it all you want to. You will not caramelize water. If you rinse meat, you're putting water on it, you've diluted out the proteins and sugars, and you will not get that sear, which is that next level flavor. I know your granny rinses meat. It's a Caribbean thing. But when you are in a food service kitchen, do not rinse the meat. How are we going to remember that? Fingers up. Fingers up. I will not rinse my meat. I will not rinse my meat. Okay, all right. Now, if we can have the big screen right here, we are going to be doing, you're on. The recipe is up here. I'm going to turn this over to the Bill and Steve show here, and they're going to give you the recipe that you have in front of you, which is for this baseball steak. Make sure I'm on the right recipe. The steak. Okay. We're done. Chef Liz is done. Just a second. We need a little respect here for Chef Bill Moore here. Thank you.
If you want to eat, you're going to be quiet. This is the coffee rub. This is made up with coffee. Can hear persons.
Yep, give it to them. They can hear me.
She's got black pepper. Listen, you're my girlfriend, or you're groping me, man.
That's an added thing.
Ground pimento and ginger. This is a very good utilitarian rub. Best used on the meat. best used on the meat before. Best used on the meat before 3 or 4 hours beforehand. But you want to keep it dry once you put the rub on it. So I'm just going to demonstrate that just for a moment. We're going to use a little bit of oil. We don't want to use too much. Just going to take a little bit of oil, really just to create some adhesion for the rub. And then we're going to take the rub and sprinkle it here. And the idea with the rub is to put it on and then take it off, as it were. So we do not want to get it too heavy, otherwise it's going to get too possibly too bitter or burn when we grill it. So we get a light dusting of the coffee, and the brown sugar is an important element because that's going to, as that cooks, that's going to melt, and which is an outstanding sauce. When you taste it, you're going to.
And it's on here. It's on your recipe. You guys see that?
You're only going to get to taste a little bit of it, but savor it because you're going to see how it tastes.
Sure.
No. So you will do. You need a fork. You need the forks, Liz. Let him. Give him the fork. Give him the fork.
You want to pass them and do the forks? Or are you going to do the forks?
So the guava sauce, the guava grapefruit sauce, you got a certain sweet and sour from the guava. The grapefruit balances. When you taste the sauce, taste it carefully. Let it sit on your tongue, and you'll see how it changes. It's a very delicate sauce, and it actually changes as it goes across your palate. You've only got a small amount, so try and do that carefully. And you put the things in. You put these out already? Yeah. Okay. And with that, you're having a salsa. This salsa is not exactly what you had for your, not exactly what you have for the recipe, because we didn't have all the ingredients. I've seen some chefs who really want to get into decoration. Any sauce left? No. They want to get into decoration. And so they want to decide to do all these pretty little things on their little dots on the plate. Or sort of things like this. And then they put their steak in the middle. Now you've got to chase the sauce around the steak, around the plate to get a little bit of sauce with your steak. If the sauce or the salsa is an intricate part of the dish, make sure they're together, right? Don't have them separated in this way, regardless of what you think it might look in a pretty way. So in this case, when I cut my steak, I'm getting a piece of sauce. I've got my salsa on the side. I can take the salsa and mix it together. So don't ever, there are many ways you can make pretty plates, but don't try to do it by minimizing an important garnish.
Got one that wanted one? Yes. Okay.
So you want to go on to...
Taste the coffee? No? Yes? Okay. Okay, so now,
which way is this puppy
if
going?
you would, well, that's okay. We'll leave it.
Huh?
I'll use right here.
Yeah.
You didn't get it? Okay.
Give me another plate, please.
No, where's more of the dish? Is that the steak?
No, do you want some more steak?
Yes, we're out. You didn't get steak, right? How many didn't get steak, so we know how many we need to do?
Originally we have, by the way, with this salsa, listen up, with this salsa we have people, and it goes with both items. So if you've got the salsa, make sure you keep it for the, to go with the next item as well.
Did you get spoons?
How many more we need for? Liz?
5 more.
4, right? That's how many we got? 4? Brett?
You got the sauce? Bring the sauce.
Nobody ever eats my seminars hungry, so.
Okay, so did you taste that sauce? Did you see that sense of that sauce that I was talking about? Did you let it run across your palate? Anybody get those flavors? You see the guava and the grapefruit? Hello? Anybody out there? Anybody doing something other than sleeping? One thumbs up. Okay. All right, Liz, what's the best way to cut this?
Okay, so this is, remember we talked about how important, I'm sorry, I can't hear over the back there, okay? Thank you guys, appreciate it. Remember how important it is to cut across the grain or the fibers. So you look at something and you say, where are those fibers? I'm gonna make sure I cut across them. When you flip this over, you should be very clear which way the fibers. I will tell you, they always go toward the big end.
Mm-hmm.
No, this way.
That way?
Yeah.
So I can cut it this way and then
No,
slice it?
you're going to slice it this way.
Yeah, but
you
I
could
could
cut it in half,
yeah,
yes.
right, okay.
And here's another way to look. Look on the side. You can usually, it's kind of hard
Oh,
because
yeah,
of this
yeah,
rub,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
can
yeah,
see where
yeah.
the fibers are going that way.
Yeah, so
So
it's-
you're going to cut them with the fiber one time, and then you're cutting across.
So I'm going to cut it this way across.
Yeah, now wait, so hold this to the camera. Can you guys see how the fibers are running? That's really obvious,
Yeah.
those fibers. Let's see if we can get that. There we are. You guys see that? See how that is? So he's cut it in half with the fiber, and now he's going to turn it and cut across the fiber.
Right. Yeah, this way.
So,
Yeah, we're going to cut
yeah.
it this way.
yeah.
Okay, so you got. So this is treated the same way. With this, you're going to get you got the sauce? With this, you're going to get a Blue Mountain Coffee sorrel sauce. Very nice combination. Sorrel, very Caribbean. Blue Mountain Coffee, very Jamaican, right? So we got a sorrel Blue Mountain Coffee sauce. Huh?
You're competing with the guy.
Oh yeah, no problem. This is Jamaica. What do you want? So, so the sauce that you're going to taste with this, now you're going to get the same, if you've got some salsa left, you get the same salsa, or maybe you get some more salsa. But this sauce, again, a very interesting sauce and very utilitarian. You could have served this sauce with the last dish that we served instead of the guava sauce. So these things can be changed, interchanged, and used in lots of different ways.
Beautiful. What you probably noticed, remember how kind of flat that piece was? Look what happens when you roast it. It puffs up, doesn't it? And it puffs up
Like
because
popcorn.
actually the cells in there are expanding. So it makes this beautiful kind of almost a ball. Rather
This
than
is always a
flat
competition
piece.
item, remember? Cooler.
If you go to a Brazilian steakhouse, this would be on a skewer and it would be all puffed up like that, and they would bring it to your table and they would slice across that right at your table. Beautiful.
Should have a cloth here. Steve, you did a great job.
So we needed to let this
Thank God for
rest for a
Thank God for
minimum
rationale.
of 15 minutes.
Oh, I didn't do a plate. Plate. Give me a.
A minimum of 15 minutes to rest because it's gonna thermalize. I don't know if you remember that from the video, but the heat, when it's in an oven, it comes toward the middle. And then when you let it, you take it out of the oven and you let it rest, and the heat thermalizes by being even throughout. If you don't do that step, when you cut into it, all the juices will come out. It'll make it very dry. But this was rested beautifully. It will rise in temperature anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees, depending on the size. The bigger, this will rise in temperature at least 10 degrees. Steak would rise about 5 degrees. But even a steak needs to thermalize a few minutes to let it rest and get even in temperature. Beautiful.
I took this out at 131.
So you got a piece of towel or something?
Yep.
Here,
Yes, Steve.
here is a, where's the camera?
Pull your hand a little back to you. Perfect.
Okay. Here's an example of the plate in the cooler. You see the sauce? And what I've done here, I haven't broken my own rule, but what I've done is I put a little bit of salsa all the way around, because the salsa is an integral part of this. The salsa here, as you taste it, you'll find is a really nice counterpoint to the sauce. The sauce has a degree of sweetness to it, and the salsa will be spicy and will be a nice counterpoint. And that's one of the things you're always looking for. When you're using a sauce and a salsa together, you're looking to balance those out so that they make a complete combination in the guest's mouth. Okay? Okay, anybody got any questions?
What I want is to take a photo of the two of you right like this. Hold on. Let me get a
Roast, and how you took this steak. Just do a quick, how did you contemporary Caribbeanize it?
Okay, so as you see from we've got the salsa, which it combines all of those ingredients that are local from our market basket, right? Pineapple, cucumber, tomato. I don't think we had guava, but could have guava, could have mango in it. Any of those things that go in there that balance. Remember, when you're making a salsa, and these type of salsas need to be made a la minute. They need to be made the same day. They're not good to be made and kept overnight because they're marinated with lime and they're going to break down the fruits. But what you've got there is you're looking for a counterpart. So you've got a flavor here, this sauce with grapefruit and guava. So it's got these somewhat acidic flavors, which offsets with the meat nicely. And then you're looking for in this case, I would use a mango salsa, a pure mango, like mango and mango salsa, a pure mango, like mango and tomato salsa, which with its sweetness would offset really nicely against that grapefruit. Unfortunately, we didn't have that today, but that's what you're looking for. In this case, we had to it, but it's got sugar in the sauce and the coffee. So it tended to be a little bit on the sweet or sweeter, which is good. And so again, this salsa is more acidic. And so here, the way I've displayed it, you've got the meat, you can take the meat, you can take the salsa, and you can take the sauce all together. So you can get all of those flavors together at one time. Because when you are garnishing a plate, and this is one of my rules, and like Liz has a rule, one of my rules is, what are my rules? Oh yeah.
Garnish the plate.
Yeah, thank you. There is no such thing as on a plate as a non-functional garnish. You do not put something on a plate that either the guest can't eat or is for the guest to eat, right? So when Steve and I were little boys, we used to always put parsley on the plate, remember? Every plate had parsley on it. Well, we don't put parsley on plates anymore because people don't want to eat parsley in most cases unless you fry it. So anything that's on the plate, you want your plate to be pretty, but any garnish, anything that you put to make that plate attractive has to be edible, has to be part of the dish, okay? And that's in fact, in everything on this plate, as you see on these plates, there's nothing here.
I was going to say, I don't know the answer on chicken, I don't know the answer on fish, but it's a great question. So your goal is, what do you want your in-point temperature to be? So for pork, if it's from the U.S., we want our in-point temperature to be 145 degrees Fahrenheit because we've eliminated trichina. So that's the little bug that your granny is always saying you got to cook your pork really well done. Well, and we've eliminated that. So we can take ours to an endpoint of 145. But let's do beef because that was what Boone was asking. Okay. If it's a roast and it rests, a big roast like this kulai, what did I say earlier? How many degrees will it raise in temperature? 10, okay? If it's a steak, how many degrees? 5, okay? So if we want medium rare to be your endpoint temperature, that's 135. You would So was that okay with everybody? And it rose perfectly to medium degree of doneness. You took them out when?
130. I took that out.
130, and it
it's
went
sat-
up a whole almost 10 degrees.
It's gone up 10 degrees at least, yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
about 15 minutes.
did that answer you? Whatever you want your endpoint to be, you take it out 10. I don't care even if it's a steak. I take it out 10, at least 10 degrees lower. Now, why? I can always go back and cook it more. I can never
Uncook it.
uncook it. And that's when you're working with your customers. If they say they want medium rare, don't take it more just because that's what you are used to doing. Because they can always send it back and cook it more. But I'm a stickler, as they all heard. I'm a stickler for endpoint temperatures. It makes such a difference in tenderness, juiciness, and flavor. Okay? When you take it to well done, you've lost your tenderness for sure. You sure as heck have lost your juiciness. And your flavor becomes warmed over. So, yes, big hug. Hey, not bad recipe. That was the last one you had. What do you think? Yeah. Well done. Okay. So that's it. I think any other questions?
All right.
Yes. I'll let you answer that, Bill. Here you go.
Okay. The college here, we'll be designing courses that teaches contemporary Caribbean cooking. They may be 5-day courses, it may be part of your syllabus, it may be an elective course. When you are taking a course on contemporary Caribbean cuisine, we will provide you with a book. Everybody will get a book when they're part of the course as a textbook. So we will provide you with a textbook. We know there will be a huge demand on a lot of people because everybody loves cookbooks. So there are some things that we have to go through because this is done with funded money. We can't actually sell the books per se. So we're setting up a system now through the Caribbean Hospitality Training Institute, who's the sponsor of this, along with Liz, and we will be getting these books in a slightly different format published, and then they will be available for sale. They will not be available for sale for profit, but they will be, and a small amount of money that will be attached to that, which will be used to fund a scholarship for some young person, possibly connected with the next competition, the Taste of the Caribbean. So that whatever money is made from the books will go back into a fund which can be used, as I say, for additional training. So I don't anticipate this book being for sale before maybe June at the earliest. When it is, we'll let you know, but you have 4 copies here on property now. We've left with Miss Davis and Miss Dyer. So you can, those books are for you to get access to. They're not kept in under, copy out recipes or whatever. But I hope those recipes will start to appear in your daily life, especially in the restaurants. You have some. Last night we had local pork. That pork with a coffee rub and 1 or 2 of these sauces would have been even better. So you can start to introduce these things wherever. And Mr. has the books, and I'm sure he will make them available for anybody who wants to read them.
Yes.
They'll be under lock and key for a while, but at least you can make them accessible if somebody's interested.
Yes, sir. Well, and you have hours of video right now.